changing into different forms. But it's not just that we're working from home. Those of us that are fortunate enough to be able to work from home, he said, we're trying to get a little bit of work done during a pandemic. And I thought that was a great way to put it, because where I live kind of towards the entrance of my community. And so I can see all the cars that come in and out. And for a while there were a lot of ambulances and fire trucks that were coming through my neighborhood while I'm trying to work from home. And you just don't know what's happening to your neighbors. And that's a very stress inducing environment.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I'm hearing a lot of echoing is it's not just one thing that's stressing people out, right? It's not just that you have to shift your homework balance. It's not just that, COVID. It's layers upon layers of stress, right? And so sometimes what happens is maybe you can deal with one of those stressors. Maybe you can deal with working from home. You got that one covered, you're good. But then you have to work from home, and there's a pandemic, and there's, political issues, and school is out / in hybrid. And so what happens is, maybe when it was just one or maybe even two of those things, you can take that stress, you can cope with that, you can deal with that. But we are at a point in time that I think the majority of us have multiple stressors, multiple big stressors that we're having to deal with. And so sometimes what we usually are able to cope with, or what we can usually deal with, doesn't work for us anymore, right? So we have to find new ways, new things to help us in that area. So then the question becomes, okay, we all have all of these stressors. What can we do about it, right? I mean, I know that some of the things that I've used to cope with different stressors aren't cutting it right now, So do I need to change things? Do I need to add something new? Do I need to combine some stuff? What is the answer? And ultimately, I don't have an answer for you, because I'm me and you're you. And so I'm not here to say, well, this is the magic pill, this is what you can do and everything will be better. But what we can talk about are, well, what are some of our options? What are things that maybe we haven't thought of before? What are things that maybe we've done in the past, but we haven't done recently because we haven't needed to, right? So this is one of my favorite webcomics. It's from a comic called I Am Honey Dill. And it's the Mental Health All-Stars, and I kind of love it. And I actually bought a PDF of it and have it sitting on my my cork board right now next to my desk here. For those of you who can't read what it says on those little guys, it's creative outlet, exercise, meditation, social activity, sun and air, humor, routine, sleep, healthy diet, love, and therapy. So one of the reasons that I love this, besides the fact that the guys are pretty funny to look at, and I love that therapy has this little book diploma thing ready to, hit somebody over the head with it, is that a lot of this stuff is stuff that we would tell people, hey, these are good basic coping skills, right? Find something creative to do, go outside, meditate, right? All those kind of things. So do any of you guys use any of these in your daily life, or have you used these before? Do these look familiar to you?
It definitely looks familiar to me, yes.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you shifted this, because I felt for quite some time that this is not an upset, it's a reset.
Mm-hmm.
So I've chosen to take this time to work on me and my surroundings. What was difficult for me was not being able to see the older individuals in my family. Sure. My mom being number one. So we've even found a way to get around that to where we meet her outside for a certain amount of time, just to have that face-to-face, connection with her. The exercise, I'm a person that has to have that titration in place, so I found things to practice self-care, because I look at it like this. I can either choose to lay in what I don't have any control over, or I can do something about it, which is take care of me. And if I take care of me, it tends to saturate everything around me.
Yeah.
So it's how I've decided, to approach it, because it's overwhelming. Every aspect of our lives has been changed to a new norm. So as you stated earlier, yes, that is a humongous feat to deal with on a daily basis. So we've got to turn that around and do the opposite. It's imperative that we feed ourselves, because if we don't take care of us, we've lost the battle.
Absolutely. The saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Absolutely.
If you can't take care of yourself, then you're not going to be able to do what you need to do to have your relationships with others. Yeah.
And I'll tell you something, I choose not to, because you can get caught up in, I have my political views and I can vacillate with that all day with whoever wants to do it, but I choose not to, because that's the topic, that's what it is. That individual sitting in the White House is going to do what he's going to do. What can I do? I can take my butt somewhere and vote, which I've already done, by the way. And that's it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm done with it. I turn on the news and I have an outlet that I listen to just to keep abreast of certain things. And then I move on, because to sit there and just feed on that, that in itself is that's too much.
Yeah. Not moving forward.
No, you're not.
So one of the ways to have this kind of idea of stress management, of good mental health, is to look at the different areas in your life where maybe it's missing something, or maybe you haven't really focused on this part of your wellness and that kind of thing. So one of the sheets that was in that email attachment, it's the wellness sheet. So feel free to look at that. And hold on, I have to get back to my thing here. Here we go. Feel free to take a look at that, because the next two slides are basically that sheet, only in slide form. But basically the idea is that there's 6 different areas of wellness. Now, if you Google it, some people will say there's 8, some people will say there's 9, some people will say there's 5. It's not, set in stone. But for our purposes for today, we're going to focus on the 6. And the 6 include emotional wellness, so mental health, emotional health, that kind of thing, spiritual wellness, whatever that happens to look like for you, whether that is attending religious services weekly, whether that's more of a spiritual participation in things, whatever form that takes for you, that's how it takes you, because we're all different and that's going to look different for everybody. Intellectual wellness. Okay. So not just sitting there and zoning out on TV all the time. I'm not saying don't do it at all, because, I certainly have done it. And it's a nice thing to do when your brain is kind of like tired of stuff. But making sure to engage your brain in something a little bit more active, a little bit more challenging at times as well. Okay. Relaxation wellness. So that ability to spend time just relaxing, just hanging out. Maybe this is where watching the, reality TV shows or reruns of your favorite sitcom or that kind of thing falls into play. Okay. And then there's physical wellness, which I think is the one that most people think of when they think of wellness, the drinking water, eating your vegetables, going for a walk, all those good kind of things that we always kind of talk about. And then social wellness, which is something that, especially in the pandemic and with work changes and school changes and those kinds of things, I think has really suffered for a lot of people. And as much as I love, talking to people on the phone or, doing FaceTime with family members, doesn't quite fill the same void, and especially like Daryl was saying, if you do have loved ones who maybe are older or that you have more concerns about for health reasons or whatever, and you're not able to kind of have that in-person social interaction, that can definitely put a big dent in that area of social wellness, right? So again, what does wellness look like for you guys? In those areas, when you think of, okay, I did something for my intellectual wellness, or I did something for my social wellness, what does that look like for you guys? Ooh, did I ask a hard question?
I don't want to monopolize all the time, but I'll say really quickly, for me, mind, body, and spirit need to be in alignment. So I do actively work out, but also attending my SMART recovery and also my AA, my support group meetings. Mm-hmm. That keeps my alignment, my balance, and keeps my recovery in check for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think my wellness looks like, and I'm with Angie. I don't want to always be the one to speak because we will definitely do it.
That's okay.
I think my balance kind of looks like me working, doing family, like compartmentalizing. I have to try to compartmentalize and just step away from whatever it is. If it's family, I need to step away and work. If it's work, I need to step away and have fun. I need to just make sure that I am perfectly separated from the other thing in order to be fully engulfed in one thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I know a couple of people have talked about kind of the blending of those borders of things like work and home and that kind of stuff. So yeah, being able to kind of make those separations a little bit stronger, so that you don't feel like home is bleeding into work and work is bleeding into home, that kind of thing. Sure. What else? Go ahead, Linda.
As I look at this wellness wheel, I'm a little bit more flexible. That it's not always even. Mm-hmm. It is depending on what is going on, what the situation is looking like. That I may need to spend a little bit more time relaxing, or doing something physical. So it's fluid. It's all over the place, and it's just where it's needed to be. Sure.
Yeah, and there's definitely going to be times when, and again, I'm thinking back to, internet quotes and that kind of thing, but, sometimes, an hour of yoga and hot tea is what you need, and sometimes you need a half hour of a sitcom and a bag of donuts, and if you can balance them, and if you can make it so that, you're not maybe overindulging in one or the other, that's what your wellness looks like for you. Absolutely.
I think your wellness too can change. Something may not be working. You may have to try something else, because sometimes, getting out of you got to do something that makes you uncomfortable for change. So your wellness could change all the time from different things.
Yeah. And if you think about, you're starting a new job, maybe that changes kind of your ability to, you keep socializing with different people the same way that you have in the past. Or maybe it changes your schedule so that you have to adjust your relaxation time and that kind of thing. If you're in school, or if, you're doing something like that, maybe you are getting too much intellectual stimulation. So you need a little bit more of that relaxation to kind of balance that out. Absolutely.
With COVID, your wellness could have been different for what it is now. Mm-hmm. Because of COVID, I had to make some changes to my wellness because it's different. So that's just an example of being going through COVID-19, before COVID-19, now COVID-19. I have to change my priorities. I have to change things around to make me feel good, to make me function better, or around, whether it's your family or whoever is around your household.
Absolutely, for sure.
And for me, I have to say, and I concur with you, Angi, I could take off on this big time. So I've been thinking how I can just minimize this. For me, the biggest thing is my spirituality. And I say spirituality, I can go off into something else, but that grounds me.
Mm-hmm.
The other things are resources for me, and I get to do the other things in terms of work and interact with family and all those other things, but I am absolutely nothing. My spirituality is my trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Because with that keeps me plugged in, it keeps me balanced, it keeps me understanding, it allows me to where I have, connections and just move along in a better way. And without that, I'm absolutely nothing. And that's just me. That's just my deal.
Sure. And one of the things too, when you're looking at kind of that wellness wheel, is if you aren't feeling like you're in your best level of wellness, this kind of gives you something to look at and go, okay, have I done something for myself that's relaxing? Have I done something for myself that's social? Have I done, are there areas in these particular categories that maybe I need to do something extra because I'm not feeling the way I want to feel right this second, right? So I know Angi had talked specifically about some apps and things like that. So the other sheet that you guys got, and I'm not going to go through all of these, obviously, but it's a list of different wellness apps that Megan, our crisis team manager, has kind of compiled and that kind of thing. And they've kind of divided them up into apps to help with like sleep, and then just kind of anxiety and stress type apps. So again, you can take a closer look at this. I think one of the nice things about kind of looking at apps is that we all have our phones, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I always have my phone. I live and die by that thing, for better or worse. It has my calendar and everything on it, right? But so many of us have access to our phones, 24/7 and carry them around with us, that it's actually a pretty good place to keep something like an app that you can use when you're stressed out, an app that can help you sleep, that kind of stuff. Just because it is so convenient and it's right there. And even if you're at, the office or in your car, you can plug that in or plug in some headphones and listen to it or do an activity on some of those and get that recharge right then and there, instead of having to maybe wait for a meeting or wait for somebody to call you back or something like that, right? Now, I don't know 100% if all of these apps are still available because things are changing so often, but it's a big list. So I encourage you guys to, look through it if you think that's something that would help you, and to share this list with other people in your lives. The two handouts are certainly not meant to be like just for you guys. Feel free to share them with others to help them if they are also feeling stressed. So then again, just some more examples of different apps that can help with mood tracking and stress, anxiety, having a thought diary, that kind of thing, that again are very accessible on your phone. Some other supportive practices, and I just kind of wanted to include some of this. Some of it we've kind of talked about a little bit, and I don't know how many of you guys are either supervisors or are maybe in charge of other people or have positions of leadership in different things, but there's a little section here at the end too that focuses more on what can a leader do to help those who they supervise, who they lead. So again, other supportive practices, practicing self-compassion. We are doing the best we can. We are experiencing a very abnormal time in history. Our reactions are normal, even if we feel that they are not. But we are in an abnormal time. We need to remember to give ourselves some grace. Forming small groups, so whether that's neighbors, you know, my husband is a big fan of D&D, so he is an online D&D group, and they play every week, and that's been a real big support and help and stress reliever for him. Standardizing a time to check in with people. So, you know, every Sunday morning, that's when we call grandma, or that kind of stuff. Practicing self-care. And the big emphasis for this one is if you're getting stressed out by things on the news, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, whatever, take a break from it. There's such an emphasis on 24-hour everything these days. It can be very, very overwhelming, very, very stressful. Sometimes we need to just like, nope, I'm going to take a social media break. I'm not going to listen to the news. I'm just going to, you know, take a hot bath, read my book, do whatever, and take that stress of everything being in your face off of yourself for a minute. Again, for supervisors, for organizations, for leaders, big things to remember: acknowledging and affirming that it really sucks right now, that we're all stressed out right now, that things are really hard right now. Letting the people that you work with, that you lead, know that they are doing the best they can, because I'm doing the best I can. And I can only assume that you are too. Expressing empathy, you know, again, knowing that the people around you may be having other stressors that maybe you aren't, or that are causing extra burdens on them, and being understanding of them to the best of your ability. Acknowledging challenges unique to your profession or to your group. If you are, you know, a leader in a recovery group, acknowledging that this stress may lead to, you know, more relapses or that kind of thing. Acknowledging that if you are a caretaker, or if someone you know is a caretaker, then not only do they have to worry about themselves and their own situation, but they have to then also worry about whoever they are taking care of, whether it be a family member, clients, that kind of thing, you know, and acknowledging and saying, yeah, you know, not only are you stressed out, but you have to worry about how is, you know, so-and-so going to be able to get to their doctor's appointment because of all this. Creating a space for feelings. So having those conversations and having those hard conversations about, yeah, I feel like no one's listening to me right now. I feel depressed. I feel anxious. And kind of acknowledging other people's pain and using those words. So many times when you're in a leadership position, or, you know, when you're in a supervisor position or that kind of thing, we have to be, you know, we have to be the boss. But allowing others to see that you are feeling the same things that they are also feeling goes a long way in letting them know that you hear them and that you're all in this together. Encouraging online communities. This one I agree with, but I think that it's also hard because I think a lot of us are zoomed out. We are in, you know, we're doing so much communication online already, or over the phone already at this point, that it's like, I just want to talk to another human being in the same room. But for safety's sake, for, you know, that kind of thing, sometimes you know, if doing things online is the best, safest way to do whatever you're doing, that's what needs to happen. And again, it could even be, you know, like I said, you know, my husband has an online D&D game that he plays every week. Excuse me, watching movies with people at the same time, you know, and, you know, commenting on, oh, I love this, you know, doing things like that could also be like an online activity or an online community builder. Okay, your open mic is a perfect example. You know, it's not that you're just, you know, talking to each other, but it's you know, you're interacting with each other. And I'm just letting you know my battery signal just came on, so if I cut out, I apologize. Communicating clearly and often with other people, modeling self-care, so sharing like, this is what I'm doing to help myself and help with my stress. Checking in often, so, you know, doing extra check-ins, having those extra meetings and those kind of things to make sure people are doing okay. Encouraging grounding behaviors. So I know Daryl, I believe, or Toy was talking about, you know, what you can and can't control, having those kinds of conversations, and expressing gratitude for the people that you work with and letting them know, hey, I am glad that you are here. I'm glad that you're part of this organization, this team, and I know that we can do this together, even if it's a really, really hard time. So then my final question for you guys, is what can you do this week to take care of yourself and those around you? So what can you guys do this week to take care of yourself and those around you?
Acknowledge them.
Acknowledge them.
Show compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Make yourself available to be able to talk. Allow them to know that that you're there to listen.
And what
Grant
can
yourself
you
grace. Grant yourself grace and others grace.
Yes. Yep. That's a big one. We are all doing the best we can, yourself included. Yeah. Hi, Liz. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, there we go. Cook a nutritious meal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's so easy to let that fall off, and it makes a big difference when you nourish your body too. And I also feel better when I make a meal that other people appreciate.
Yeah. Finding ways to share those kind of things with others, the things that you enjoy that help you to stay strong, sharing that with others. Absolutely.
Ooh, and I was going to say, to piggyback off of Linda, Liz, and Chantel, is listen more to my 15 or my 7-year-old. When I ask them, how are you doing? Go to their eye level and sincerely listen and not assume or anticipate what they're going to say, and then respond appropriately and include them in cooking a healthy meal to model those, you know, actions of like cooking healthy and eating healthy together. I have a 7-year-old doing burpees with me.
What else?
No, I put sleep in the chat, and I was being completely serious about that, not just a joke, but when I find that when I get a good night of sleep, I am well rested, I'm ready to take on the day, I'm more prepared, and I'm kinder to myself, and I'm more patient with other people that I interact with.
Absolutely. I have a small child, and he decided to wake up at 3:30 on Saturday in the morning. It was not, the rest of the day was kind of shot for me and my husband. We were just kind of like, nope, we're not getting anything done today because we were up at 3:30.
Allowing yourself to cry. I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to cry sometimes, but like I always feel better after I do like a big cry. I don't know. That sounds weird, but I feel like that always like helps me.
No, crying is a big release of emotion, and whether or not it's socially acceptable all the time, sometimes a big cry is what your body needs. Absolutely.
I would say for me, it's taking more walks, and then also just creating like outdoor activities for my family. Like, so we sort of like, we're into like decorating and putting up fall decorations. So we try to incorporate that into like just as a family activity.
Yeah, it is the time for seasonal decor, whether that's, you know, Halloween or fall, and, you know, winter is going to be coming soon. So doing some of that could absolutely be a good way to take care of yourself and boost people around you, for sure. Just because I'm worried about my battery and I don't want to kind of cut out on you guys, any questions, any other thoughts about this topic? Again, it was pretty short, you know, barely scratched the surface. We could go on and on and on about wellness and self-care and stress and all that kind of stuff. But any questions, any other thoughts that you guys have on this?
I was just gonna say that I appreciate this because I think we talk about self-care a lot, and it's almost like lip service, you know, working in the different fields that we all do. And it's like, oh yeah, self-care, it's almost like a buzzword, but just to sort of take an hour and kind of go over some of the fundamentals and then have like a dialogue with other people who, you know, are in similar situations was helpful for me. Just some basic reminders, and, you know, light bulbs went off of things that I could be doing or should be doing. Kind of like Tom just wrote there, practice what you preach.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to acknowledge when we're not okay. I don't think that is done as much as it needs to be. You know, and being able to say, I am not doing okay today. I don't know what I need, but I know that what's going on right now is I'm not in a good place. And then, you know, finding a person to help you or finding something to move you at least one step out of that bad place, for sure.
Thank you, Nona, so much for your expertise. And again, we really appreciate you taking the time. I'm just saying, I want to say my thank yous before your battery cuts out, so I can see your eyeballs shifting to your peripheral. So is this slide deck available for me to share?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you so much again for your expertise, and we really appreciate it. If anyone else has any other lingering questions, we'll move on to discussion after this, but please feel free to reach out to myself or Nona as well.
Yeah, and I forgot to put my email on the slides, but Angie, feel free to share my email if people have other questions, or forward me their questions. That's totally fine as well. I'm more than happy to, you know, continue the discussion, provide other resources if people are interested, that kind of thing. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Nona, very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nona.
I would like to kick off a very interesting question from Sonia, asking about compartmentalizing, and is it always a healthy maneuver to do? And then Murphy dropped a very intriguing article in the chat. So does anyone have any thoughts about, I really honestly, personally never thought about compartmentalizing being in a negative, I don't want to say negative, but maybe maladaptive. But it's very intriguing. I saw, I opened that article. I have it saved because I wanted to listen to the presentation, but I'm going to read that later. But I saw some of the highlights and found that interesting. Does anyone else have any thoughts about that? Or read the article.
Read the article, and I think it can be something for you guys to chew on and think about, how it can be effective, because it's a defense mechanism, really, as you compartmentalize. So it can help you get things done, but on the far end of the spectrum, it can be very ineffective and unhealthy. And if you would take it to the far end of the spectrum, clinically speaking, it would be dissociation. And when you compartmentalize, you're really closing your part of your subconscious off to what the present reality is.
Interesting. Thank you, Sonia.
I think my biggest takeaway from the article and just kind of the way we were using compartmentalizing between work and home and things like that. It would be one thing if I compartmentalized my stresses at work in order to have a productive evening with my family at home, and then went back to work the next day and addressed those problems, right, and took care of things. It would be a totally different thing if I neglected problems at work, right, habitually, and then compartmentalized outside of work, or compartmentalized my problems with my family and just stayed at work all the time, right? It can go either way. But I think if we're addressing both sides effectively and in a healthy way and with a balance for wellness, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing if used sparingly.
Right. And I think that's the important thing is that, you know, it can be very effective. And when we're in the middle of a pandemic, you don't think about it because you're functioning and you're doing it to help you cope and get through. But long term, it's not a mechanism you want to continue to use.
Wow, great. Thank you for the food for thought. I'll have to check out that article. And now I'm going to open up the floor. I know we had a couple of new joiners. It's 4:26, so I want to respect everyone's time. So if at 4:30 you need to hop off, please feel free. There's no obligatory to stay. But some of the new joiners or some people that haven't visited us for a while, please, the floor is yours. Share any updates or any thoughts that you have.
I'll go first. Hi, everyone. Rachel Lund. I am the Democratic candidate running for McLean County Board in District 5. Thank you all very much for having me. The way that I even heard about this group is I was out in the community delivering yard signs, and I met one of my future constituents who was telling me about the things that matter most to him. And he and I got on a call and talked about, you know, drug court and substance abuse, those kinds of things. And I told him, I said, you know, I am someone who has not had a personal experience with that. But I am someone who wants to be involved in my community and learn more. So he extended the invitation. He told me about this group. And so that's why I'm here to just learn and listen. And actually just this weekend, so we were talking about going home to see family and seeing people that we haven't seen in a long time since the beginning of the pandemic. And I did learn after going home this last weekend that I do have a family member that's struggling with substance abuse. So learning more about this area, and to the point about compartmentalizing, again, thinking about going home, and this pandemic has been so stressful. Being a candidate and having that to focusing on work and focusing on the campaign, I didn't realize that I was compartmentalizing and just putting all of my thoughts and feelings about not seeing my family, just kind of tucked that away because I didn't have time to deal with it. But then once I knew I was going to go home and see my family for the first time in almost a year, just the thought of seeing them brought tears to my eyes. So that was very eye-opening for me to be okay and experience those feelings. And someone else had mentioned, you know, just having a good cry that's okay, and that is helpful and therapeutic. It really was. So just thank you very much for inviting me and sharing some of your stories, and these resources are very helpful. So I'm excited to share some of what I learned today. Thank you.
Excellent. And Rachel, thank you for joining us. And we meet this time, the same Zoom information, third Tuesday of the month, 3:30 to 4:30.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Open invite. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I've come quite often. I'm Gay Nat Hoskins.
Hi, Gay Nat.
I come every now and then when I get a chance. And I also have my intern here, Maddie. So just to give a couple updates, through the ROSC, of course, we have the LGBTQ group. And I know how passionate everyone on this feed is about the ROSC. So we are looking into trying to get them together to make sure that we can get this LGBTQ group off and going. We have a couple participants, but I know that many more people need this resource. So just to throw that out there. That's for the ROSC. For the Children's Home and Aid, if anyone has any kiddos between the ages of 0 and 5, our Early Learning Center has some openings. And it is an excellent program. It is an exceptional program. It's not just a daycare. It is about talking and working with them about socializing, it's about cognitive, it's about socializing, it's about mental and emotional health, and just being able to support. And it's really good resources through there as well, the crisis nursery and everything. And even though you don't have to be at the ELC to use the crisis nursery, it's just a really good program. And we also have that home visiting and groups. And then with my other job, the health department, if we are calling you to quarantine or isolate, please do so. Our numbers are getting out of control. And I know I'm not going to get political. This is real. It is not a hoax, and people are dying. So whatever you can do to make sure that you are keeping you and your family safe, please do that. And you're also making sure that you're taking care of somebody else's family. When you wear your mask, wash your hands, and stay your butt in the house. That's 3. And then for 4, it is Dreams Are Possible. We do have, I'm sorry guys, I have 4 jobs. I forgot to say that ahead of time. With Dreams Are Possible, we do have some classes for those who don't know about Dreams Are Possible. It is a program that exposes women to the trade and helps them to get a career instead of just a job. So those classes have started on the 13th, and we have upcoming classes coming in November. I just don't have the date set. Just wanted to put it out there. That's it. Am I done?
Yeah, thank you, Kayna.
Thank you.
Okay, so then again, to respect everyone's time, a quick plug again for thank you, Gaynette, for the updates. I appreciate you. And also we have the open mic coming up on October 29th, 6 o'clock. We have the flyer. It was out with the agenda. Please hit me or Dan up if you need that Zoom information. I have it in the chat box, but we'll send it out again. It's on our Facebook page. So please feel free to jump on. You do not need to be in recovery to enjoy open mic. Just come for some inspiration. Other than that, I'll see you next month, maybe sooner. Thank you everyone for your time. I respect all of you. I appreciate all of you. I have gratitude for all of your efforts, what you're doing for our communities and for each other. Please give yourself grace. I appreciate you. Thank you.
And I also say, get out to vote.
Yes.
Tell your family and friends to get out to vote. The NAACP and League of Women Voters are collaborating together on October 22nd. Anybody want to go door to door? We got some door hangers. We are practicing social distancing at Miller Park between 4 and 6.
Okay, Linda, if you want to send me, if you have a flyer for that, or if you have an invite, I'll send it out. Send it to me and I'll send it out to the network.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Remember to vote, folks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Also, 2 quick things. If you're interested in the subcommittees for sober living, sober recreation, or our spirituality group, please let Angie or I know. We could always use more people at the table. And I also have a little self-evaluation for the dimensions of wellness that Nona talked about, where you can just click and kind of just rate yourself across those different dimensions and get kind of a rating of where you stand on each, and then drive out sort of action items. If that's something you're interested, something you want to share with clients, people you work with, let me know and I'll send it to you.
Bye everyone. Thank you.